you are what they call today a rebel state. The scholars of Islamic and international relations, this is called SIAR, they have designated by a special term. They call that territory Darul Harb. Darul Harb. The abode or the territory of war. But not because a territory is designated Darul Harb, because it is an oppressor. Or I gave you a second example, because it denies us the right to preach Islam. Like 2 years ago, I have traveled to Singapore so many times I've lost count. I've lost count. But after 9/11, Singapore said, we will not allow you to preach Islam in this country. You can come in. You can eat as much durian as you want in Singapore, but you're not allowed to lecture on Islam in Singapore. That's what they did to me after 9/11. And then 2 years ago, when I attempted to enter Singapore, they said, now you're not allowed to even enter Singapore. So I asked why. They said, well, you know, you're not allowed to give public lectures. But we don't want you to give even private lectures. In somebody's sitting room, with 10 or 15 people sitting with me in a sitting room. That also is too great a threat for the Republic of Singapore. So they denied me entry. The only place on the face of the earth where I have ever been denied entry is Singapore. Nowhere else has ever denied me permission to enter a territory. If you are such a state which is oppressing people, it doesn't matter whether the people who are oppressed are Muslims or non-Muslims. That's not the issue at all. In Haiti, the oppressed in Haiti are not Muslims, no. Once you are oppressed, that oppressor state is designated Darul Harb. How do we deal with Darul Harb? We who embrace the Islamic conception of an international order. The answer is, Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam spoke. And he said, do not be anxious to meet the enemy on the battlefield. No. We are not a people who are hurried to fight. No. Do not be anxious to meet the enemy on the battlefield. And if you have to meet him on the battlefield, wait until he kills one of your men. I never knew about this hadith until I read a wonderful book written by a very famous Egyptian scholar. I don't think the Egyptians themselves know about him today. Sheikh Muhammad Abu Zahra. And the book was on war and peace in Islam. He quoted the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, Sheikh Muhammad Abu Zahra. He said, wait until they kill one of your men, and then put the body in front of them and ask, is there no better way for us to resolve our problems than this way? And so fighting in Islam is always the last resort. We don't draw a line in the sand and call it desert storm. Not Islam. You must explore. Listen carefully to the language now. You must explore and exhaust every possible peaceful means of resolving the problem before you can resort to fighting. This is Islam's conception of an international order. When fighting is to take place, it's not one man who jumps up on a horse and off I go. No. The commander-in-chief must issue a fatwa of jihad. When that declaration of war is made, only then can fighting start. So we don't have something called a preemptive strike to destroy Iraq's nuclear facility. A preemptive strike to destroy Pakistan's nuclear plants. No, we are a people who first declare war. And after we have declared war, we have to exhaust every possible peaceful means of resolving the problem before we can fight. But when we fight for Allah's sake. We fight that the truth must prevail. We fight that justice might prevail over oppression. That's a Muslim. And it's about time we introduce the world to a Muslim. Someone whose backbone is made of iron and steel. Now, recycled paper. The last time I met a Muslim, his name was Malcolm X. Someone with a backbone made of steel, not of recycled paper. This conception of the Khilafah state and this conception of an international order eventually came under attack when a power came into the world that was more powerful than our power. Qarnain was the word used in Surah Al-Kahf. Qarnain. This qarn or this age, and this qarn or this age. When this qarn or this age emerged, a power emerged in the world. I have created creatures of mine so powerful that none but I can destroy them, says Allah in in Sahih Muslim. And so a power emerged in the world that we could not resist. That power came out of a Jewish-Christian alliance in Europe. That power created modern Western civilization. That power gave to the world a continuing scientific and technological revolution which delivered military power unsurpassed in history. But now power rests on foundations which are godless. And power is used to oppress. The objective, one of the main objectives of the use of power on foundations which are godless is to eventually liberate the Holy Land. Bring the Jews back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own. Restore a state of Israel in that Holy Land. Cause that Israel to become the ruling state in the world. And then allow a man to emerge who would rule Israel and from Jerusalem rule the world. 1400 years ago, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam in the desert of Arabia described that man to us. He said he'd be a Jew. He said he'd be a young man. He'd be powerfully built. He would have curly hair. And when he rules the world from Jerusalem, he would say, I am the Messiah, Al-Masih. But he would not be the Messiah. He would be an